And then we'll do roll call.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. And if you don't have your name tags, if you could kind of turn them, so I'm sorry, I'm still learning names. That's all. Gail's gonna be.
Are you ready for roll call?
Yes, please.
Okay. Councilmember Hurtak,
Here.
Cal Hardy, Samantha Flores,
Here.
Yanika Mills is excused, Kevin O'Hare,
Here.
David Hay,
Here.
Christian Leon,
Here.
Chris Thompson, and Danielle Riffenberg, I believe, are excused. Larry Josephson, Karen Kress,
Here.
Rebecca Hessinger,
Here.
Omar Perzada,
Here.
thank you, Jason Jackman,
Here online.
Nicole Dufa, Anna Quinones, Robert Frey, Brian Ramirez, Gloria Marbalagia,
Here.
Sarah Templeman,
Here.
Una Johnson, Catherine Coyle,
Here.
Arizona Jenkins, Gus Ignis.
Here.
We do have an in-person quorum.
Awesome, thank you. I don't see anyone I don't recognize for public comment, but I'm gonna call it anyway, if anyone has some public comment. Okay, thank you. Did everyone get a chance to look at the minutes for February? And if so, can I get a motion to approve?
So move. That's it.
Okay, a motion by Kevin and a second by Gus, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So we'll start with our status reports today. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, I'm trying to share here, there. Yeah, I don't know, I've never done it. So.
I did it.
Got me.
All right. Super responsive. Can you see if it's already been open? There's that.
Yeah. There we go. That should do it. Yeah, it works. Perfect. Now we got it. Sorry, technically challenged here. Right. So I'm Amber Simmons, TPO staff. Yep, we got it, Lisa. All set. And the purpose of today's 11-slide presentation is to give you an opportunity to comment on the draft Unified Planning Work Program, or UPWP, which contains the 2-year TPO budget, and we've also included a timeline for completion.
Can we make that full screen? I think we're gonna miss the bottom of that.
Yeah. I am full screen, so I'm trying to figure out. This,
Oh, you had it.
there we go.
Thank you.
Okay, there.
Still got some tricks.
Learning things every day.
Yes.
So the UPWP is a requirement of all TPOs, and while it's a federal requirement, the purpose of the document is to coordinate our transportation planning activities for federal and state funding amongst our partners, and it outlines our TPO budget for the next 2 fiscal years. And as you may recall, the Unified Planning Work Program differs from the Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP, in that the TIP identifies and prioritizes specific projects. And the UPWP is planning studies that are necessary to carry out the programs and are precursors for discretionary funding opportunities. It's effective July 1st, 2024, and is valid through June 30th, 2026. The task numbers in the UPWP outline the work to be completed, and examples of the work are found under each task. Are in task 1 is pretty much all things administrative for the UPWP, revisions, amendments, grant management, certification, apportionment, and invoicing. Task 2 is a pretty big task for us. It contains complete streets, corridor studies, congestion, safety, ITS projects, resiliency, active transportation, intermodal freight, transportation demand management, transportation disadvantage planning, and the environment. Task 3 is dedicated to long-range transportation plan and data management and counts, such as traffic counts, multimodal counts, level of service, that type of thing. Task 4 is our transportation improvement plan, which is prioritization, TIP development, and amendments. The 5th task is all things outreach, all our outreach efforts, committees, and board work. And task 6 is local and state coordination, such as the Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance and the Tampa Bay Transportation Management Area, or TMA. 7th task is new for us. We're using that to track our efforts spent exploring a regional MPO. And task 8 is also regional in nature, but tracks the transfer of funds between MPOs. And our budget. The UPWP budget consists of planning and FTA funds of $2,495,390 for fiscal year 25, $2,539,070 for fiscal year 26, $600,000 annually for surface transportation block grant dollars, and lastly, an estimated $53,000 a year in the Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged, or CTD funds. This does not include any de-obligated fiscal year 24 funds or discretionary grant funds. The preliminary draft has been submitted to FDOT for their first review. We are now sharing the draft with you, which, by the way, is also linked in your agenda item, and you may find it on our website under Plans and Studies Unified Planning Work Program. We will take your comments and feedback to the board, and a summary of comments will be documented in the appendices of the work program. In May, the board will approve the final version of the UPWP, and it's submitted to FDOT by May 15th. Then FDOT will review it, Federal Highway reviews it, they comment, and the new UPWP becomes effective on July 1st. This extremely text-heavy slide is a summary of projects from fiscal year 23 and 24. These are some of the completed projects, as well as our 2-year disadvantaged business enterprise percentage of the TPO, which is currently 13% for all eligible DBE projects. And now for upcoming projects, critical path projects are the ones that the TPO is required to do, as well as those which started in fiscal year 24 and will be complete in 25. You can see there's quite a few long-range transportation plan projects that are still in the works that will wrap up in 20. This next slide is our request for planning and analysis. And although it's not an exhaustive list of each project, it are the projects that we are exploring based on funding and our partners' interest. Areas will include transit, complete streets, non-motorized planning, technology, freight, and multimodal studies. I'd like to open it up for comments, discussion. And again, we will be making notes for suggestions and adding a summary to the comments for the final UPWP.
Anyone? Yes, Omar.
Hey, morning and great presentation, thank you. My name is Omar, I'm with Art. We just wanted to check and see, is there allocated funding, and we can look at this too later, but do you know if there's allocated funding off the top of your head for the upcoming part, comprehensive operations analysis and?
I know that we have included some transit projects in
Okay.
there. We haven't, because of the funding, we haven't allocated specific projects yet.
Yeah, okay,
There are transit projects that we're looking at.
okay, awesome, thank you.
Hi, sorry. Just going back to your budget slide, for the next 2 years, is there any, I know there's a number of federal grants available to planning agencies through Department of Transportation. Has there been any, or is there any grants that TPO is targeting in the next 2 years?
I know we are looking at a couple. Right now, what's not included in there is we have an Environmental Protection Agency grant that we were awarded. That's $388,000. And a Safe Streets for All grant, which is a little over $2 million. And I know that the TPO is looking at some other discretionary grants as well coming up.
Wonderful, thank you.
Anyone else? Well, thank you so very much. I also just wanted to put into the record that Nicole Dupa and Larry Josephson have joined us.
You ready for me?
Yes,
Okay.
we are ready for you.
All right, let's find the presentation.
It's a powerful meeting. While we're waiting, I just want to share this with you all. On Thursday, on City Council, we have in front of us the approval of 4 segments of the Green Spine that are going to be funded by SDOT. So just to let you know, so they're going to be up in the Sulphur Springs, North Seminole Heights area.
The Green Artery.
Yes, I'm sorry, the Green Artery, not Green Spine.
Wait, I missed that. I was concentrating. Can you repeat that? That sounds really interesting. I'm sorry.
The 4 segments of the Green Artery are going to be, we got funding from FDOT, the city did, to to connect some of those in the North Boulevard area and Sulphur Springs, 22nd Street Park, and basically North Seminole Heights, South Sulphur Springs, South Seminole Heights. So just some fun.
If I might, I was in Atlanta recently and my goal was to bike the belt line, the Atlanta bike belt line. The whole time I was there, I kept thinking, this is the Green Artery. This is the Green Artery, or it could be.
Yep. So it's
Wow.
chugging
That's great.
along.
That's great.
So I just thought that this committee especially would like to know that. I assume it's going to pass because it's on consent, but we just wanted everybody to know.
How hard to join virtually if anybody
Oh,
was wondering
okay.
if he's here.
Excellent. Who knew that Sarah doubles as our IT team?
Hey.
Good morning. I am happy to step in and give you an update on a study that we're just wrapping up. And it's on some multimodal traffic counts. I think you'll find this pretty interesting and exciting. Traditionally, we only have, we do a really decent job at counting our motor vehicles. And we know that there's so many people out there who are using other modes of transportation. And some of the technology out there that we have relied on to kind of give us an idea about bicycling activity, for instance, would be like a Strava. And that tends to be more recreational cyclists who are going on a long ride, so it gives you some information, but not really what we need to know about where people are walking, biking. One of the things that I've always relied on, unfortunately, is the crash data, because that tells me that there's lots of people there and they're getting hurt. So we know that we needed wanted to get some better information on that. So we have had this study, it's just wrapping up, but there's still opportunities if you have suggestions that we can include before it's finalized. We focused on the high injury network because really that is our focus for Vision Zero. We wanted, to understand how many people are out there. I remember this back, oh my gosh, I forgot his name, Scott. And he was a UT professor and he was like our chair of the MPO way back in the day. But he always said when we started analyzing crash data, he said, well, how do we know that this is a bad place? Maybe there's 4,000 people that are going through this intersection or this roadway that are biking and walking, and it's actually a really great place. It just has higher exposure. Or did every single person that tried to cross or ride on this roadway get hurt? So we really needed exposure data. We always knew that we needed this. So we do want to focus on the high injury network, and that's what we did for this effort. 80 locations is what we could afford to do, which is a pretty decent number, I think. We've done a couple of these in the past where like years ago, where we could afford 20, and there was like students sitting out there, or interns, and counting, literally. So in this project, we have better technology than just putting a chair out there and popping a person down to count. So these are cameras that were placed out. They have they did a great job in installing and having those counts captured through video. Picture, I don't know much more about that details, but so don't ask me about the technology. The
24-hour counts.
Yes, yes. I didn't really actually hear that question, but yeah, they were there. But that's some of the detail I have to rely on others to remind me, but they are 24-hour counts. How long is this stuff? Do you guys remember? It's like, how many minutes? Yeah, over 3 weeks. That's good information to have to be able to answer to this, but I'm sorry, I don't have the details on that, but we do have some really great data that was captured in this analysis. What was the road like? Was there a facility there? We wanted to make sure that we were capturing where people were walking and biking. Were they going against the flow of traffic? Are they on the sidewalk or are they on the roadway? So there's a lot of great information that was captured over this time. Here, some of the initial results. This just lists, obviously there was 80 locations, so we're only listing a handful of these to show where the greatest number of people were on those 80 locations. Not surprisingly, but Bayshore in that 24-hour period had almost 700 people counted. But even, maybe you'd expect that, but look at some of these other locations. North Florida and Waters, 341 people in that 24-hour period. This is really impressive. And I think the next one is bicycling, so I'm just going to go to that one. 15th Street between Fowler and Fletcher, a plug here for the slow roll. That's going to be tomorrow morning. Look how many people are out there biking or trying to bike. A point that the CAC made, and maybe other committees, they said, can you imagine how many people are actually biking and walking, not on the high injury network or these scary roadways? I really want to emphasize that we're capturing here people that are probably dependent on these modes to move around. And we could extrapolate probably that there's, I don't know how many, 10 times more people like off that network that are out there. So we really do have, yes.
So, might be a silly question, but what's the difference between the W/O or Fletcher at the top, and then at the bottom it's E/O for the same?
West?
West of
East
15th.
of,
West of and east of?
Yes.
and north of.
Okay,
Yes, so there's a good point. There was actually more people than west.
so there's a lot of people there.
Right. So these are, some things that we're kind of looking at, that relationship between the high injury network. We want to know, is this, what can be done maybe on some of these roadways if there's an intersection that seems to have, issues, that these are places that can kind of hotspots that can draw our attention and some improvements. I just want to think about a couple more things before I go to you, Kev. I did want to point out the TPO board, and maybe you'll bring this up, Councilor Pertec, had suggested that we also do some additional analysis and overlay these maps with the volumes, annual daily traffic, so we know what the volumes look like as well as this, and also with the crash data.
Yeah.
So Kevin, you had a question, and then I think that might be the last thing.
Yeah, so first, was this 24 hours, was it over just one day, or was it multiple days and multiple 24-hour periods?
No, I'm sorry, I wasn't intricately involved in the study. I'm stepping in for someone, so.
Well, 24-hour interval, if that helps. Ben Gordon, TPS staff. Sorry.
Sorry, thank you, Ben. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you were on.
What did he say?
Can you tell us again, Ben, the duration of the counts?
Yes, it was just a single 24-hour interval.
Thank you, Ben. Just to follow up with that question, was there any, can you break out in those 24 hours, like kind of the trends? Like, did you see a commuter pattern? Was there like peak in the evening and the afternoon? Was it more of a recreational pattern? And that might be context dependent based on the sites, but does your data capture that?
You know, I would need to go through it again, but the data that I've reviewed does not have an hour by hour.
That would be really helpful. And I think that question also came up with the CAC because of that, who are we looking at,
And I'll just make a general comment because I'm a huge believer in non-motorized counts, and all due credit to Karen Kress, the team of Downtown Partnership, for really building a successful model of using these counters as a way to justify a project. We're always counting cars, we're counting capacity, that fuels additional capacity, which fuels additional road building. The same practice can be applied to bicycles, pedestrians, and all the other projects regarding even transit. It's just all about building that case. And, Karen, I want to tell the story of what they've done at Franklin Street. I'm gonna let her tell it if she wants to tell it, but what we're doing at West Shore, following what happened off of Franklin Street, was we went on Gray Street at Himes and Lois, and part of our data was we went out 3 days, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and same kind of technology, live camera counting. And we built a commuter pattern where we saw there were enough people using Gray Street going east-west during normal working hour that we could justify that improvement through the special services district. So right now we're currently in design for 2 crossings at Himes and Lois, and it's because of those counters. So it's a great way to justify, and more importantly, we're looking forward to once the project's done, going back out there with the same technology to show how the improvements have actually made a difference in those that are actually using it, or even increasing the amount of folks that are using it. So, hopefully in the next round of these counters, I would definitely implore the TPO to go out and do more days and build those batteries. And more importantly, if you can, I know there's a lot of like near miss technology out there now. You get really into the weeds with seeing how many seconds before someone is hit, the stuff we don't want to talk about, but it's really, really important from a safety perspective. I know FDOT's done a lot of work with this technology in Pinellas County. I don't know how much in Hillsborough County, but it really shows and paints a great picture of how really everyone is, kind of coexisting in a space, especially from across different modes. And, we always talk about fatalities, but we don't talk about the many near misses before that. So this does a great way of capturing that before, because we're often not talking about it until we get to the actual crash.
Yeah, great points, Kevin. Before Kathy, I just wanted to say that we are getting a lot of support for the idea of repeating these.
Yes.
And probably annually if we have the funding to do it. Amber, you just saw the UPWP presentation, but repeating these, also adding additional locations, maybe off, but definitely at these locations. So we get a trend. I think that's really important to see. And I always like before and after, if there's any of these locations are going to have some improvement made so that we can see the change there. Kathy?
2 things came to mind. One was, do you have access to, or were you able to solicit the data from the private companies that do bikes and scooters? Because those areas are getting bigger.
Yes, I don't think we did that, but I remember when, I'm behind on that topic, but I remember when Post Bike or whatever, they would show, like the heat maps. So that's
Yeah.
what it's referring to, right?
Yeah,
Like,
because they have GPS trackers, so they have the data. It's just whether or not you can solicit it from them and if they'll share. And the second thing I was thinking of, it reminded me of the one that, Expressway Authority did when they gave out the little GPS trackers in the cars. It's all, like, we should figure out a way to write a grant for GPS trackers to 1,000 users, 1,000 bikers, people that commute and get track their data.
I believe
See where they go.
the e-bike voucher program has a version of that. City.
Yeah, they only gave out so many, though, but like, yeah, that would be.
Denver did that.
And it, yeah, we should figure out a way to find some money to do that. Solicit people that actually commute and ride their bikes,
I
whether
just
they're
thought-
kids or adults or whoever.
the Bluetooth or the, whatever, the data is that captures us driving, our devices, that they should use that data, but just people moving really slowly are probably the one, everyone has, a lot of people have cell phones that are biking, walking, like, can we find data that way too?
On the note of data, real quick, I don't know to what extent we can provide data from the counters that we did in West Shore to the TPO, but that's something I'd be happy to provide. And I think it's just a good practice because we have another round that we expect to go out on West Shore Boulevard later this year. We just completed the whole round over by the stadium with some pretty interesting numbers. I think Karen saw it. Yeah, some really interesting numbers of folks walking to and from Raymond James Stadium for some
You can,
football games. So I'll be sure to share this.
you can also try to find money just to create an app for pedestrians where you solicit people. You create the app, you solicit people to chime into it, log in and then track their walking.
Larry.
Anonymously, of course.
Obviously, there's a lot of bicycle traffic around the elementary schools. Has that been investigated? And some of those schools are on roads that have a lot of traffic. Like
We-
Fort Elementary.
Stuck to these 80 locations, but I don't know, Lisa, if your study had done some count, the older study you did with the schools, if their counts were included in that, was it? Were they?
We did field observations, but not counts. But one thing I wrote down to share with the committee is that the school district contacted me yesterday for traffic counts because it's part of the hazardous walking legislation formula for them to determine whether a condition is hazardous or not. And I shared with them back, I'm like, oh, we have hot off the press new walking and biking data, so maybe they can use that for school analysis. And I'm sure Emily Henselt's actually at the community traffic safety meeting today. But I'm sure she'll be excited to dig into some of this data that isn't around.
That reminds me, and Larry did too, that we will make this data available on our traffic count webpage. So this is stuff we want to share and we want our partners to use.
Now, just as a cyclist myself, I can't remember what month it was, but Casual Tuesday Ride is a bike meetup group on Tuesdays. And they actually sponsored a, Strava your commute for a whole month. And then I think they just randomly pick people out of a hat for prizes. So I think we could incentivize using Strava or another type of technology, an app we create or whatever for a particular month or a particular time, just to really try to get some more data in that way. That's,
Everybody's got a smartphone in their pocket.
yeah, yeah. So,
Turning it on and track themselves.
and, but again, if we did something like some, you Strava your stuff 5 times of the month, and then you're put into a hat for, I don't know, concert or whatever, y'all came up with some neat prizes before. So just, that seemed to be very popular.
Yeah, we're actually going to do something at the Gulf Coast
Commuter
State
Choices
Street
Week.
Summit around that time where we do the Tampa Bay cycle and kind of commuter choices challenges.
yeah.
I don't know who had their hand up
Yeah,
first. in there. I think-
Karen, I believe.
And then,
I have a lot to say on this topic, but I'll try to be brief. First off, there is a statewide program and they have a database that we can feed all of this information into. And Gina, I have that information if you need it. There is a campaign that FDOT supports through Cutter called Love Your Ride. And it does kind of all the stuff you guys are talking about. And I believe they typically do it during May, which is National Bike Month. So there's opportunities there. And number 3, in my opinion, if we're counting cars, we should be counting people. And this should just be, let's not just do little locations all over. Let's have kind of mode parity here. And then 4, I remember when we originally were trying to get this going and, brought in Kevin and some others. Beth Alden was saying, well, we need to pair this with the high injury network, which I get that sentiment. But the other part of me thinks, well, we already know that there's crashes there. So do we really need to have these counts to justify fixing these intersections when we already know there's crashes there?
Well,
You know
that's
what I
the
mean?
exposure data that I was mentioning, that you
so-
don't know if it's a great, I think it's still important, honestly.
Okay.
And your point, I just wanted to say something, and I think there's your second point. Oh my gosh, completely left me. What was,
Safety or the levy ride.
I'll get back to it.
Oh, the counting all the different, the mode parity? I don't know.
I don't know either, so I'll put it down.
Yeah. I mean, in my mind, this is, these counts are best used to kind of draw the need to the fact that you need to have better infrastructure there for people walking and biking. That's just my point with the high injury network. That's my point with the high injury network. Like, we already know that. That should already be justified from the crash data. So with these counts, you're better off somewhere else where we wonder whether or not.
Or they're near
better
misses.
infrastructure.
Okay.
Near misses, that's a great point.
I think what I was gonna say, and is I definitely know that you had your hand up, was, we all probably agree that we do enough, we do the vehicle counts, we should be doing these. The thing about it, obviously, is like, there still needed to be a human that looked through all of the camera few hours to have to know, because, you can't put a tube out, someone walks over it, or the bike doesn't ride where it's supposed to, or a cyclist. And so it's a labor intensive
I
then.
think AI can fix some of that.
Right.
But
You had a question.
Yeah, Gus.
Thank you.
One, pulling data from Lime and Spin will tell you that,
Mhm.
that multimodal parity concept you're talking about.
Uh.
'Cause I live in West Tampa and Cass Street has become I-275. Everything is, get to Cass Street and then you have some lanes, you go all the way downtown, goes all the way to Ybor City. So I used to use the commercial systems, but then I found a sale and bought a scooter myself. But I mean, I spend more time on Cass, like the average commuter spends on 275. I spend on Cass Street.
I mean, use it, build it and people will come, honestly, which reminded me that Cal has his hand up because.
Oh,
Okay.
Yes, and my only other point was 1 24-hour period in a 365-day year is almost irrelevant. We live in a seasonal society where our summers are different than our school years, are different than our holidays, are different than the fall, are different. So we need to actually accurately reflect what's going on here. We need to do that collection. I know it costs money. But we should be doing it we should determine what those periods are, because the middle of the summer is very different here than, say, in the month of January and the school year.
Absolutely.
And that's all I need to say right now. Thanks.
Can you unmute?
I'm here. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to say some of those camera technologies also can record near misses. So rather than counting crashes, you can actually record crashes before or opportunities for crashes. So just as an FYI, it was pretty cool little technology.
Yeah.
Thanks. Nicole? To the point about grant funding, I just wanted to let everyone know that the Expressway Authority VIA applied for the USDOT's Saving Lives with Connectivity grant. So that's the connected vehicle technology grants. So as a part of that grant application, it was a partnership with Nellis County, Hillsborough County, as well as the city of Tampa to install these types of cameras at key intersections. So because VIA led the grant, it'll be along the expressway itself, but with a lot of emphasis in downtown and strong, at least one of the different case studies that will be used is for vulnerable road users. So looking at crashes with, specifically with pedestrians and bicyclists. And so that is, and it will use similar technology. So if they win the grant, they'll be able to apply that type of camera technology at the Solomon Expressway ramps, as well as other key intersections that they've identified. And so if that comes to fruition, that would definitely be something that could contribute to this activity.
Larry?
Go ahead.
I don't know if you know this or not, but just recently our division received $15 million in grants for safety and mobility. And so we're going in looking around schools or high entry networks. As a matter of fact, last week I was on a field trip to Lynn Turner and determining where we should put crosswalks with RFPs. 6 years ago, we resurfaced that road. We changed the striping from passing striping to no passing. As a matter of fact, he said everything in the urban boundary within the Tampa area will be no passing, because a lot of the streets were like Lynn Turner was every 600 feet, there was an intersection and people, it was marked for passing. So we changed all that. So we're slowly working at it with this $30 million. Abigail Flores is the designer for that. So maybe there could be some collaboration.
Absolutely. Actually, Hanley was probably the one example that started out on our top 20 that fell off. It might have been the only one so far because you guys started to do work on it. And I remember when analyzing again to see what ones were still in the top 50. And I think that was one of the ones that, maybe the only one that fell off after what you done. It could use some crossings though.
And then one other question, and I know we've had this, once we changed the striping on that, on Lynn Turner, that dropped from the like second.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
To the bottom of the list.
Right.
And my question is it time now to redo that top entry list?
Yeah. You would be surprised how many are still on it, like stay with 60 and East Hillsborough. I mean, it's going to take some miracles to get those off of there.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think the last 3 or so, maybe go away and replace. So I just asked.
Yeah, we'll continue to.
Yes. Kevin?
Just two quick notes. First, just a kudos to the Expressway Authority. I think they're really leaders in the non-motorized counts. I know Karen and I have seen a lot of the work they've done up and down the network all throughout the county. So really kudos and credit where it's due. But one thing I got Karen said I thought was really, really important as you're going through and hopefully starting your next round of counters soon is definitely looking at the low stress network throughout the county. We're always looking at the high stress network, to Karen's point, because that's where the crashes are, it's where the attention is, and that's why. And it's important to count those intersections because there's death happening there. But oftentimes, especially in Hillsborough County, we're trying to justify these populations, to justify these investments. So when we're talking about, transit, for example, we look at how many folks in the county use transit. People draw assumptions and opinions based off of funding for that, assuming that not as many folks maybe use transit as much as, say, driving on their car. The same goes for bicyclists and pedestrian infrastructure. If we're not justifying those populations and folks don't necessarily see it as a net positive, the Riverwalk's a great example. When it was built, it was a boondock. People did not like it. They thought it was a waste of money. Now you can't fathom downtown without it. So going in and counting, even in these neighborhood roads, like Orison, for example, in South Tampa, where it's an excellent east-west bikeway, or Central Avenue, minus the current disruption. It really is a great way to get around the city. And there are also pockets in the county as well, like Nature's Way in Bloomingdale. I know there's been a lot of speeding high schoolers, I was high school ones that live in that area. So hopefully that's changing. But finding these pockets where we know folks are actually using it as a real commuting pattern, maximizing or counting there so we can paint a picture of an actual network because it's out there and folks are using it. And, while proliferation of, other modes of counting is few and far between, like this is a great technology to show that there are commuting patterns and all we have to do is just maximize those networks. And the investment is very marginal when you're looking at it, especially at things like Gray Street, Morrison. We're talking, you know, a protected intersection using RFBs, which is not very expensive when compared to fixing Fowler Avenue, which is in the, you know, tens of millions of dollars at this point.
Point taken.
And I was gonna say the same thing, that really we should be looking at what we've already considered bike boulevards. And we have bike boulevards coming on Gray, Ola, Central, all of those are coming, and then Cass Street. And so not only counting, but then how do we then start incentivizing people to use them? Because that's the issue. Right now, people are using some of these high injury streets. Why? Because there are streets that are parallel that people can use.
I've had that discussion throughout my career, but I agree. And there are sometimes in the city, some parallels. But when your job is on Dale Mabry or your apartment, or you're changing the oil and, you know, you have to at some point get on those roads. So I think anywhere that a cyclist is allowed, which is everywhere except the, you know, interstate, we should have, you know, give them a good facility. But yes, parallel facilities are really helpful if there are some that aren't too far away.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know, I think I've seen both sides. In Minneapolis. They have a really great system where they simply don't allow bikes on major corridors, and they require you, I mean, not require you, but there's no space for it. And instead, what they've done with those bike lanes is make enough space for a bus lane. So I mean.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And bikes and buses actually can share, there's not a bus there every minute.
Yeah.
So I love Minneapolis.
Yeah.
I agree with you there.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Lisa.
Okay. One, I wanted to tell everybody and remind you, when you do have counts, I love the idea of the West Shore data, the downtown counts and stuff being shared, because little known fact is the TPO hosts all traffic counts of all types, and now this will be added to that website. We have a website just for traffic counts, so of our partners like Elkhorn County or anybody have updated any. I mean, the city gives us, shares us, AOT shares it, so we kind of have a one-stop shop for traffic counts, which aids the school district when they need their traffic counts. I just direct them there. So I wanted to remind everybody about that, our resource, and to keep sharing the updated data because it gets old fast. Also, because you guys are at Bike Network, I'm like, oh, kind of need to have the overlay of the trails network and stuff, because that's where people are headed to and from those trails. So those would be great places to count. So even, again, don't have a ton of money. So like, you know where to prioritize the bicycle improvements in the highest use area. And then, lastly, I was like, since Ben, project manager, is here now, I was gonna say, is there anything juicy about the study you wanted to share that Gina didn't cover? Because you've been in it, living it.
Oh, well, I think it's fair enough. I guess I did want to share that we are working with Vinesh and their sub-consultant on a follow-up analysis of the data. I'm not sure if you had a chance to touch on that, Gina, but we'll be able to get some really cool visual depictions of traffic volumes, the multimodal traffic volumes at each location, and see how they compare to either injuries on bicycle and pedestrian crashes in particular. You know, we'll have sort of a scatter plot vision of those, or otherwise we'll just compare them to the overall vehicular counts. But that's one of the big works.
That's cool. Well, get a lot of good ideas out of the group today.
Cal, did you still have a question? Your hand isn't still up.
Yes, it was another point. Just in Boston, when we went up to Boston for the NACTO conference, the city of Charleston is right across the river, and there was a bridge that they added bike facilities to, and what they did was they installed this totem on one side of the bridge, and it basically counts, like there's a little pavement marking that says ride here to be counted. And if you ride your bike over the little pavement marking, you actually get counted, and it shows on the little totem how many people have crossed the bridge. It was just for bikes, but I mentioned they should probably do that. They should probably add something for vehicle traffic too, so you can kind of see, because there, just sitting there was more bikes crossing that bridge than there were any vehicles. And it was a really controversial project to even take out a little bit of space for cyclists there. But it was really interesting. And with downtown, with the kiosk, you might even be able to like kind of like if we had something like that on Cass Street, for instance, across the bridge, it really tells that story because I can guarantee for most of the time of the day, there's more pedestrian and bike traffic crossing that bridge than vehicle traffic. So anyway, just something like that. Just wanted to mention.
Just real quick, Cal, according to Brandon Campbell, there is a totem going in on Cass Street. So just FYI.
Oh, very far.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. To see the city is being very innovative here.
Well, that's great.
Now we need a presentation on that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that basically what it sounds like, what we would like to convey as a committee is that more of these for longer periods. So even if you just chose those 80 and did them for, say, a week or just something, and I know with cameras it can be difficult, but it just seems like that's the kind of thing that we would love to see longer, more data on. Larry.
I was wondering, we're working on the same type of things that you are, and I think Dinesh is one of our consultants too, that we're getting traffic counts for, so we should collaborate and get the traffic counts, switch, Mike Flick is the contact, who's obtaining those type of counts, also Abigail Florence.
Kevin.
To Larry's point, I noticed I was biking downtown. I saw there was a counter at the intersection of Gray and Himes. I'm not sure if that was the TPO or not, but to whatever extent any counts in West Shore proper are happening, we would love to collaborate. And it's something where we have a consultant that comes out and does live non-motorized counts, and we're always looking for new locations. So to kind of stretch the dollar farther, so you can get more counts in parts of the county where you don't have SSDs that can't afford to pay for it, because that's something that we find in working to our budget every year. We'd love to work with the TPO to make sure that you can go and count all the other great intersections in the county. We can take care of the ones in West Shore and share that data with you.
Yeah. Official request.
Well, that's wonderful. And if you all can think of any other groups who are doing that, who aren't here today or aren't represented, please make sure to share. 'Cause it sounds like we've got some other groups, and that way you don't have to replicate, but we'll just create a nice, more robust data system. So.
Lisa, is the school district not doing any of their own safety counts or anything that they're coming to you?
They don't do vehicular counts on the roadways. They don't have a budget for that, so they come to our website to look for it. If it's a county road, they use the county data. If it's a state road, they use the state data.
You don't even count the number of parental drop-offs and pickups?
Well, no, and Lori is online. She's our school representative, so I really don't want to speak for them. Lori, can you unmute yourself and share what that situation is with the school district? I do know that when they're doing safe routes to school projects or applying for that application, they have to do tallies and counts, and it's very in-depth. The Hillsborough County knows that too, because they applied for safe routes to school grants. You have to have surveys of the parents as well. To qualify for that grant, there's exhaustive counting and stuff. I did note down to share with Ben that I think besides the trails, if you're really the schools, because they aren't even driving age, they aren't using a vehicle. So and we do want to encourage that. Sidewalk Stompers does a great job of that. So seeing how many are there, and then maybe doing some before and afters for some of the improvements. There's lots of great stuff, but no, the hazardous walking, it has to do vehicular counts on a roadway as part of the state legislation requirement for an audit for hazardous. So that's why they use that. The other stuff I can't. Is Lisa on? She's physically there, or she's walked in, but then maybe not available.
Sure. Well, being that the data is so important, it's like the ground for so much of the work that has to get done. Should we convene a counting summit to bring all the people counting together and figure out how to best share all the counts?
Yeah, and one benefit of doing that is I attended the statewide non-motorized count summit. Ben and I carpooled actually. And that was a month or so ago, and it looks like it's gonna be in Tampa next year, which I think will be maybe February, March-ish timeframe, so we could be the shining star of the whole state. Regionally collaborating and presentation, so.
So would we need to do that ahead of time? Do our own?
I mean, I think it's time, I mean, based on, everybody had some information too. I don't know whether Ben would have the capacity to convene a group. I'd be happy to help too.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ben?
Yes, I'd be interested, totally, yeah.
Sorry, put
Do
you on the
it.
spot.
No, I'm sorry.
His supervisor's behind him, so he says yes, but I think we could. But yeah, so do you want to collaborate kind of offline and bring it back to us in maybe a month or two? Just kind of let us know where we're like, obviously you wouldn't have a whole plan in 2 months, but just let us know kind of where it's going and
Definitely.
and how we can all participate, because it sounds like a really wonderful way. We got the county rep from Larry. Do you already know the city traffic count contact, or we could ask Cal who we should work with?
You know, I'm not remembering the contact off the top of my head. So
But you have it already. Okay.
I can dig through my.
Wonderful. And yeah, so I think that's a great idea, Christian. And then we will, like you said, be the star for this date on that. So anyone else? This was a great discussion.
Yeah, and all the other committees had a lot to say about this topic.
Good.
Kind of get stuck on the school stuff since I grew up in a big city and we walk to school every day. I know that it's not necessarily the most common thing here, but we always concentrate on the public schools in Hillsborough. And I worked briefly with the Catholic schools at the archdiocese or diocese. There are a lot of principals there. And it's anything that's done to reach out to the Christian schools, to the charter schools, to the schools that aren't run by the school district, because we have a significant student population in this area that go to these other schools. We're doing all this analysis on the public schools. Like I live in West Tampa, so I know that West Tampa Elementary is like kind of like a petri dish almost. They're doing a lot of work. But I mean, St. Joe's 3 blocks from there, and the one on South Delmavia, I can't remember the name of the Catholic school there, the big Catholic church at Henderson. I mean, there's a lot of kids walking to that school from that neighborhood as well. And that's a sidewalk-less neighborhood, you know, that we have these expensive houses with no sidewalks, and the kids are all walking the street. So I great that we're concentrating, but are we really concentrating on everybody? Are we getting information? Are we looking at everything? Sometimes it's just sending a letter to the principal saying, hey, this is going on. Are you concerned? Do you want to have input? I mean, what's a letter cost nowadays? I don't even know. 50 cents. You know, we're not talking about a giant publicity campaign, but I mean, that would help. And I did want to say congratulations. I ride the bus to work once a week. And I heard the survey ad in the overhead in the bus. So I was sitting there thinking, why are there not signs so people can like sit on their phones and answer the question? But I want to say congratulations on the verbal announcement on the bus service.
I can answer the, sure, public, okay. So the TPO's done 2 school studies of the like 280, close to 300 public schools, which charters are considered public, so they were in our database. We did detailed analysis in the first wave of 12, and then in the second wave of 8. So of those 3, so the capacity to then get to all the private ones, which is difficult to get the data for those, is we're not excluding, but you know, I still have over 200 to go through detailed analysis on just the public ones. So, and it's hard to connect with them. Like I have school district staff here on the committee, but it's Kings High School, or, you know, Catholic, whatever, you know, it's capacity. Like this is the first multimodal count we've done. And you guys like to identify 500 more studies of multimodal stuff, but we got a small budget. Sounds like we got some good feedback on the type of projects with our budget planning dollars that you guys want to see. So they're not excluded, just Anybody
I
else?
could work full time just on school stuff and that's not a good job. So,
Well, thank you very much.
thank you.
So we've got some new business.
We just wanted to, selfishly plug the inaugural slow roll tomorrow. It's in the university area. March, confusingly enough, is Florida Bike Month, and May, the other M word, is National Bike Month. So in the cooler month of March is when we celebrate in Florida. So I wanted to celebrate, I'm on the active transportation team, so we wanted to create an event to celebrate bicycle month and awareness there. And then we're also having Access 2050 survey at the event. So there's a lot of really great partners. Secretary Wynn is in town, I believe Ride, ACA Vision Fire is coming, riding. We have Dr. Wong back there is gonna be there. They're gonna say a few words, and then we're gonna do a slow roll on one of the high injury networks that has had some improvements, safety countermeasures applied. And then it was really great to see all of 15th Street data today, because I'm like, oh yeah, there's a lot of people out there riding. So it's really great that we have some countermeasures, and it'd be great to incentivize more of them. So just wanted to put a plug there. Yes, sorry, it's on city council day, but it's really hard to squeeze it in. I'll tell you. And then thank you to ITE. One of our members wrote their own separate letter to that email I blasted out about the Florida Gulf Coast Trail. They are having their meeting tomorrow and it's in jeopardy. So we're hoping with the TPS letter and ITE's letter and others that, so wanted to appreciate the committee for their support there. Yes.
Just a shameless plug for this Saturday is our last bike riding, the Bike West Shore series over in West Shore. Put together 2 rides to show folks how to get around West Shore using the low stress bicycle network. So this one is actually going from Avion Park over by the airport, and we're showing you how to get access to Courtney Campbell Causeway and Skyway Park, which is a hidden gem if you haven't been before. Really a great park up in the corner there in Hillsborough County. So if you're available, come on down 9 a.m. We're going to start our ride over at Avion Park over by the World of Beer in West Shore. So come on down.
Yes.
I want to say thank you to Lisa. I sent her an email a couple of weeks ago about all the stuff that was written about the train studies, the Amtrak studies, and us not being included. I saw you included all that recently, so thank you. And both letters that were sent to the federal government saying, listen, we're already doing stuff here. Why are you discounting us? There's a mention of a overpass on down Mabry. Where is it? When everybody keeps mentioning it in their letters, and the only pedestrian overpass I know of on Dale Mabry is by the stadium.
Correct. There's one designed and proposed in the I-275 West Shore Interchange project. It's the West Shore Interchange is like section 6 or something like that, or 5, and then segment 6 of the Tampa Bay Next project. This is Midtown.
So there is a
In Midtown, yeah. Midtown. Connects to the trail.
Midtown Walmart area.
Right on the south side.
On the south side of 275, it'll be bridge paralleling. We have a study that we did at the feasibility, and then DOT put it into the design of 275. So if you Google our website.
Thank you.
It came through these committees years ago and it's finally happened.
And just to follow on the Amtrak, we actually had Amtrak come and speak at the TPO meeting. That was really great. The gentleman who presented was so excited to be there. It was really neat. So, and he was, and he was so thankful that someone reached out. Apparently we haven't reached out in a while. So he was, very enthusiastic. Some people are just kind of with their presentation. No, he was very enthusiastic, and he actually talked to us at the end, and I got his card and just very excited. Yes.
Regarding Amtrak, I know other states subsidize service within their states, like North Carolina. I think Oklahoma is more progressive than Florida, I guess. They provide funding, and that has always been the issue in our state, is that our state doesn't partner with Amtrak to provide greater service within the state.
That is exactly what he said.
Yeah.
So the presentation is on our website on the calendar event, and then the recording of his presentation on what was said and the board's reaction to what was shared and presented is on our YouTube channel.
Yes, I highly recommend a deeper dive. Yeah, it was surprisingly thorough, really detailed PowerPoint presentation. It was nice. It was a good conversation. And I think the board overall was amenable to more conversations with Amtrak and we did Pat Kemp immediately asked about why, and he said, that's not our level. I mean, that comes from the feds, so we need to keep sending letters and keep just bringing it to their attention.
I think that comment period closed officially.
Yes, but I don't think it would.
Yeah, it can't hurt.
I mean, yeah.
And include our congressional delegation as well. They have a lot more power than most of us
Yeah.
realize. And
I believe they have reached out.
Stay tuned because we are pursuing a Brightline representative to come present to the board as well. We've had some staff changes, so it's a future month. Plus, we're kind of busy with LNTP too. So when we get an opportunity, we'll squeeze it in.
Anyone else have any? Yes, Karen.
Since we're chatting, I'm taking a flight later, so I want to take transit to the airport. So I took transit to get here this morning, and just like a check-in, if you're able, it's really good to jump on a bus every now and again. And I appreciate Gus saying once a week. I did hear the ad for the 2050 plan. Good job, you guys. The poor guy next to me waiting for the bus had his bike and the rack was full. So he was in for another 30-minute wait. The bus was reasonably full. It was exactly on time. It was a lovely ride. And I know I live in the city, so it's probably easier for me, but just to kind of, we all advocate for this. It's really good to understand kind of the pitfalls, and we do not do a good job providing transit. And this is not a knock on heart. This is a funding issue that I don't have time for, but.
You can also park your bike at the airport, and you can't leave.
Yeah, that's right.
I do love to tell that secret. There's only like 13 spots, but you can do it. It's outside, but I'm working on encouraging.
but it's covered.
It is covered. It is covered.
That's a good point.
It is covered and it's at the bus stop. So you could park your bike and then take the train to the main terminal. It is possible. You can do it. And I do encourage you to, because every time I go, I see the racks full. So hopefully if there's more racks full, maybe someone at the airport will say we should add some more.
The luggage makes it complicated.
The luggage. With e-bikes though, and the amount of cargo bikes that are coming on the street.
It's true.
You can fit more, but if you're going for a quick trip, which, it helps alleviate economy parking, which then leaves it for long-term travelers, folks coming from the hinterlands of Tampa Bay. So a lot of options there.
Got a question from someone asking about bike racks. And I know that there have been some free bike rack programs, and I shared it with the school district when we were doing the school studies, and I think they took advantage. Is there still any source of?
I don't know any sources for free bike.
Lime does provide if they're doing a hub, they provide a bike rack. It's part of their infrastructure, but that's limited.
It's like, I wish.
Something happened, I don't see Lime scooters anymore. I see Lime bikes.
The scooters are just limited to downtown.
Just in downtown, because they used to go all out to west, down Newbury, I think.
Yeah, they got rid of them in West Shore. I know that.
Starting April 1st, but you'll see some changes in the whole citywide program. So I don't know exactly.
Say what?
Could we get a report on the
probably a good idea.
micromobility efforts?
Yeah.
It's been a while,
Austin.
a year or so.
Austin.
Oh, okay. And you went on the new rollout of all the micro mobility update?
April 1st is when there's changes to the contracts and stuff.
Yeah, there was a lot of drama. Closing the contract, starting new one. Yeah, Cal.
First off, sorry that I had my daughters this week in Nellis County, likes to start school at 8:35, which kind of screws up on these times. So anyway, I new business. I just want to let everybody know that April 12th, I'm resigning from the city on something of April 12th. And then I have an opportunity with HPB, so I'll be working with them within their municipal business line. but I'll have to talk to you, Lisa, about replacements here. And I really enjoyed my time in Source, or the committee, I should say. But it's been a pleasure working with everybody.
You will be missed.
Very much.
Congratulations, alternate, he's been gone too, so, yeah.
Yeah, I know, we'll have to figure out somebody.
Okay. Send William on over.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Or maybe your new Vision Zero engineer.
Yeah, Tim, yeah, we hired Tim Morse to, as Vision Zero engineer. He's really good, actually. I think he's gonna be a really good fit for the city.
He used to. Their intern.
Oh, really?
Gus?
I wanted to congratulate Kevin, right? Kevin, you're at West Shore. Your LinkedIn posts, I'm not on Facebook, but your LinkedIn posts about cycle commuting and everything. I mean, to me, it's showing people that it's possible here. There's a lot of people here think, oh God, by the time May comes, you can't ride a bike. It's impossible. It's also a problem here that when May to October, nobody wants to stand on a bus corner either. So your continued posting about that, particularly in the business community, is showing is an example to other people that this is a possibility. You know, so, I mean, I want to congratulate you and encourage you in that. My other point is Mark Sharp on anybody's committees for the TPO. I mean, he writes about transportation constantly. I just don't know if he's represented
He
Mm-hmm.
it.
used to be a county commissioner and served on the TPO board, and I believe he was even the chair of the TPO board.
Right. And he puts out a vlog every month on transportation issues. Is he on anybody's committees right now?
He works with the Rebecca Goons, Jill Scott,
He's the head of the Tampa Innovation Partnership of the USF for the Innovation District.
Right.
And he has been working on a lot of transportation issues in that university area for a while.
But do we include him in any of the countywide stuff, or is he just concentrating on?
He mostly just concentrates on that, but he's interested in transportation issues everywhere.
Karen, he's lovely.
I really do have to go, but to Gus's point, David Aylesworth, who sits on the VPAC,
Yeah.
he is car free, and he wrote an article on his 1 year anniversary of being car free. He mostly bikes. And there's a developer in downtown who is building 140 units with 5 car parking spaces. And he was inspired to do that because he read Dave's article. So, yeah, so keep on writing and telling people that you're biking places and taking the bus and everything else to normalize it. So that's it.
How'd they get that past city?
It's a long story, but.
Yeah, trade-offs. Austin Britt has a whole presentation on that too. All right, yeah, and we don't get used to this luxurious.
I know.
Well, the council is more and more in the downtown core. I have to give Karen the credit for really pushing the envelope on that. We've gone down to 50% parking requirements in the downtown core. And from what I've heard, we're gonna try for even more. So, thank you. Okay, so, do I have to get a motion? Okay, well, have a great rest of your, month. We are adjourned.